Let's begin with a question that's both dramatic and slightly silly. Why do humans keep digging holes? Think about it. You're an ancient villager. You've got sunshine, fresh air, and plenty of space above ground. Yet somehow, someone in your group says, "Hey, what if we built our house under the house?" And suddenly, you're chiseling away at rock, sweating in the dark, inventing the world's first basement. This is the underground mystery. Across continents and centuries, civilizations chose to hide their greatest works beneath the earth. Not just cellars for wine, but vast tunnels, labyrinths, and entire cities. Some were practical, some were spiritual, and some were just plain confusing. Archaeologists today stumble upon these places like tired treasure hunters. One moment they're brushing dust off a stone, the next they're falling into a chamber big enough to host a wedding reception. And the evidence keeps piling up. Humanity has been hiding underground for thousands of years. But here's the twist. The more we uncover, the more questions we have. Were these builders protecting themselves from enemies? From the weather? From nosy neighbors? Or were they simply bored and thought, let's make future historians really work for it? Whatever the reason, the underground mystery is both shocking and oddly cozy. It's history at half speed, explained slowly, with enough pauses to make you yawn. Perfect for bedtime. So settle in. We're about to wander through tunnels, chambers, and legends, one sleepy chapter at a time. And if you're still awake at the end of this story, well, you deserve a medal, or at least a pillow. And hey, before we dig too deep, like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Bonus points if you're listening from your basement. If you've ever wondered why ancient people decided to spend their lives digging downward instead of upward, the answer is both practical and a little funny. Imagine being an ancient builder. You've got stone tools, a lot of free time, and neighbors who might steal your goats. Suddenly, the idea of hiding underground doesn't sound so strange. Protection from enemies. Above-ground houses are easy targets. Underground chambers, much harder to raid. Climate control. Underground spaces stay cool in summer and warm in winter. Nature's version of air conditioning. Resource storage, grain, wine, and livestock could be kept safe from weather and thieves. Secrecy. Sometimes hiding your treasures or rituals underground added mystery and power. Maybe someone said, if we build underground, we'll never have to mow the lawn. Or perhaps they thought future archaeologists will be so confused, let's give them something to argue about for centuries. And of course, there's the timeless excuse, we were bored. The truth is, underground building was a mix of necessity and creativity. It solved problems, but it also created legends. Every tunnel whispered of safety. Every chamber hummed with mystery. And the rhythm of digging, scrape, carve, rest, repeat was slow enough to lull anyone into a trance. So when you picture those ancient builders, imagine them not just as engineers, but as dreamers. They weren't only hiding from danger. They were shaping a world beneath the world, a quiet place where history could sleep until rediscovered. Before archaeologists started tripping over hidden chambers and dusty tunnels, humanity already had stories, whispered legends about people who lived beneath the earth. These tales were less about pickaxes and stone dust, and more about mystery, myth, and the occasional exaggeration. The Greeks, they spoke of Hades, the shadowy realm beneath the soil, where souls wandered. Not exactly a cozy underground city, but it set the tone. Below the earth was a place of power. The Mesopotamians, their myths described the land of no return, a subterranean world where the dead lived in dim halls. Builders may have borrowed from these stories, carving chambers that echoed myth. The Celts, folklore told of hollow hills, magical places where fairies and spirits dwelled. To them, underground wasn't just practical, it was enchanted. India's Patalas, ancient texts described vast subterranean realms inhabited by serpent kings and treasures. A reminder that underground wasn't only dark, it could be dazzling. Imagine villagers sitting around a fire. One says, "There are people living under the ground." Another replies, "Really? What do they eat? Probably us, if we keep asking questions." And so, myths grew, part cautionary tale, part bedtime story, part excuse for why Uncle didn't come back from the cave. These early legends gave underground spaces a sense of mystery. They weren't just holes in the ground. They were gateways to other worlds. Whether real or imagined, the idea of subterranean civilizations made every cave entrance feel like a portal. So when later builders carved tunnels and chambers, they weren't just engineers, they were storytellers, adding bricks to myths already alive in people's minds. If legends gave us whispers of underground worlds, archaeology gave us the first dusty proof. And like most great discoveries, it didn't start with Indiana Jones charging through temples. It started with someone tripping over a rock. Farmers plowing fields suddenly found their oxen disappearing into sinkholes that turned out to be ancient chambers. Shepherds chasing goats stumbled into caves that weren't caves at all, but carefully carved tunnels. Builders digging foundations for new houses uncovered walls that belonged to much older, hidden structures. Each accident added a piece to the puzzle. Humanity had been digging downward for centuries, and those works were still waiting beneath the soil. The first explorers weren't armed with fancy technology. They had shovels, brushes, lanterns, and a lot of patience. Imagine the scene. One archaeologist says, "This chamber looks like a storage room." Another insists, "No, it's clearly a ritual site." A third mutters, "It's just a really big pantry." And so, debates began. Were these underground spaces practical, spiritual, or just eccentric? The answer, of course, was all of the above. Sometimes the clues were less dramatic than expected. Instead of golden treasures, archaeologists found broken pots, stone tools, a suspicious amount of rat bones. Not exactly glamorous, but still evidence that people had lived, worked, and hidden underground. The first archaeological clues were like breadcrumbs leading into history's basement. Each discovery was small, but together they revealed a vast hidden world. And the rhythm of excavation, dig, brush, pause, yawn, was slow enough to lull even the most excited explorer into a trance. So when you picture those early archaeologists, imagine them not as adventurers, but as sleepy detectives, piecing together the underground mystery, one dusty clue at a time. In the heart of central Turkey lies Cappadocia, a land famous for its strange rock formations above ground, but even more astonishing for what lies beneath. Here, ancient builders carved entire underground cities, vast labyrinths stretching deep into the earth. Derinkuyu, the largest known underground city, descending nearly 18 stories. It contained stables, kitchens, schools, churches, and even wine cellars. A true metropolis beneath the soil. Kamakli, another sprawling settlement, with interconnected tunnels and rooms designed for families, livestock, and trade. Dozens more archaeologists have uncovered many such cities, often linked together by long passageways. These cities were not carved for novelty. They were built for survival, protection from invaders. Cappadocia was a crossroads of empires, and underground living offered safety. Climate control. Summers in Anatolia are scorching, winters bitter. Underground chambers kept temperatures steady. Community planning. Builders engineered ventilation shafts, water wells, and escape routes, showing remarkable foresight. Life underground must have been quiet, steady, and strangely soothing. Footsteps echoed softly in stone corridors. Fires flickered in hidden kitchens. Voices carried gently through tunnels. The rhythm of daily life was slower, sheltered from the chaos above. The underground cities of Cappadocia remind us that ancient builders weren't only practical, they were ambitious dreamers. They didn't just hide treasures, they hid entire civilizations. And the silence of those stone corridors still lingers, like history breathing beneath the earth. Egypt is often remembered for its towering pyramids and sun-baked temples. But beneath the sand lies another story, a hidden world of tunnels and chambers carved during the Old Kingdom around 2600 to 2100 BCE. These subterranean passages remind us that Egyptian builders were not only masters of monumental architecture above ground, but also engineers of secrecy below. Beneath pyramid complexes, archaeologists have uncovered corridors cut deep into bedrock, winding like veins beneath the desert. Some tunnels lead to hidden chambers, possibly used for burials or rituals. Others are narrow shafts so tight that modern explorers must crawl sideways to pass through. Burial security. Pharaohs feared grave robbers. Concealed tunnels made looting far more difficult. Spiritual symbolism. Egyptians believed the journey to the afterlife involved traveling through hidden realms. Underground passages mirrored that cosmic voyage. Architectural ambition. If you can build a pyramid that touches the sky, why not add a secret basement to impress eternity? Exploring these tunnels today is slow, dusty work. Archaeologists brush away sand, inch through narrow shafts, and pause in silence when they reach chambers untouched for millennia. The rhythm of discovery, crawl, brush, pause, breathe, is hypnotic, almost like a lullaby in stone. The lost tunnels beneath Old Kingdom Egypt remind us that history is not only what we see above ground. Beneath the monuments, beneath the desert, beneath the centuries, there are whispers of a hidden world, quiet, patient, waiting to be rediscovered. Torches and oil lamps. Builders relied on flickering flames, which gave limited visibility and filled tunnels with smoke. Reflective tricks. Some evidence suggests polished surfaces or angled shafts may have helped bounce light deeper inside. Every strike of the chisel had to be deliberate. Navigation. Without natural light, workers had to memorize layouts or mark walls to avoid getting lost. Ventilation. Smoke from lamps needed to escape, forcing builders to design clever air shafts. Safety. Darkness magnified risks. A misstep could mean injury, or worse, being trapped in the labyrinth. Picture the steady rhythm, the scrape of stone, the faint glow of a lamp, the echo of footsteps fading into shadow. Progress was measured not in speed, but in persistence. These underground works remind us that human determination thrives even in the absence of light. Builders carved worlds beneath the earth, guided by faith, necessity, and the dim glow of fire. When archaeologists explore underground chambers, they don't just find walls and corridors. They often uncover the tools that built them. These simple instruments, buried in dust and stone, are the quiet evidence of human hands at work thousands of years ago. Chisels and hammers, carved from bronze or iron, these were the backbone of underground construction. Stone picks, cruder but effective, used to chip away softer rock like volcanic tuff, grinding stones to smooth walls and floors, leaving surfaces surprisingly polished. Wooden scaffolds and ladders, fragile remnants sometimes survive, showing how builders reached higher sections. Oil lamps, small clay lamps, often found broken, remind us that light was precious in the dark. Builders worked slowly, patiently, with repetitive strikes that echo across centuries. Even simple tools could achieve monumental results when combined with determination. The wear and tear on these artifacts shows the sheer labor invested in carving underground worlds. There's something soothing about imagining these tools in use. The steady rhythm of hammer against stone, the faint glow of a lamp, the scrape of a chisel, all blending into a hypnotic soundtrack of persistence. Each tool was humble, but together they shaped vast subterranean spaces that still stand today. The tools buried deep remind us that history is not only about grand monuments, but about the quiet labor behind them. They are whispers of effort, patience, and endurance, the heartbeat of underground civilizations. Temples are often thought of as places of worship, light, and ceremony. Yet beneath many of these sacred structures lies a quieter, darker world, hidden chambers carved into the earth. These spaces remind us that ancient builders were not only architects of grandeur above ground, but also guardians of secrets below. Beneath Egyptian temples, archaeologists have uncovered sealed rooms that may have held ritual objects or treasures. In Mesopotamia, temple complexes sometimes included underground vaults, possibly used for storing offerings or sacred texts. Across Asia, certain shrines were built with subsurface chambers, designed for meditation or initiation rites away from the public eye. Ritual secrecy. Some ceremonies were meant to be unseen, carried out in darkness to heighten their mystery. Protection of relics. Sacred items were stored underground to shield them from theft or destruction. Symbolism. Descending beneath a temple could represent entering the underworld, a spiritual journey mirrored in architecture. Exploring these hidden chambers today is slow, careful work. Archaeologists brush away dust, step softly into narrow spaces, and pause in silence when they reach rooms untouched for centuries. The atmosphere is hushed, as if the stones themselves are holding their breath. Hidden chambers beneath temples remind us that history is layered. Above ground, rituals unfolded in sunlight. Below ground, secrets lingered in shadow. Together, they created a balance of seen and unseen, open and hidden, a rhythm that still whispers through the ruins today. If tunnels and chambers were the skeleton of ancient underground worlds, then water was their lifeblood. Builders didn't just carve spaces to hide or worship, They engineered entire systems to channel water beneath the earth, creating secret routes that sustained life and protected communities. Aqueducts and channels. In regions like Persia, canals were dug to bring water from distant sources underground, keeping it cool and clean. Wells and cisterns. Underground cities often had deep wells carved into bedrock, ensuring access to fresh water even during sieges. Hidden reservoirs. Some temples and fortresses contained concealed cisterns, storing rainwater for rituals or emergencies. Escape passages. Many underground complexes included narrow corridors leading to hidden exits, allowing inhabitants to flee unseen. Trade tunnels. In certain regions, subterranean routes may have been used to move goods discreetly, away from prying eyes. Military pathways. Armies could move through hidden passages, surprising enemies who thought the surface was secure. The thought of water flowing silently beneath the earth is strangely calming. Imagine the drip of droplets echoing in stone corridors, the steady trickle of channels carved with patience, the cool air rising from hidden wells. These systems were practical, but they also created a rhythm, a heartbeat beneath the soil. Underground water systems and secret routes remind us that ancient builders weren't only hiding, they were sustaining. They carved not just for shelter, but for survival, weaving life itself into the fabric of their subterranean worlds. Long before archaeologists brushed dust from hidden chambers, myths had already filled the imagination with tales of underground worlds. These stories gave depth and mystery to the earth beneath our feet, turning caves and tunnels into gateways to realms of gods, spirits, and the unknown. Greek mythology. The realm of Hades was said to lie beneath the earth, a shadowy kingdom where souls journeyed after death. The rivers Styx and Lethe flowed through this subterranean landscape, adding layers of symbolism to the idea of hidden realms. Mesopotamian beliefs. The land of no return was a dim underground world where the dead lived in silence. It was not a place of punishment, but of inevitability, a reminder that beneath the soil lay destiny itself. Celtic folklore. Legends spoke of hollow hills and fairy mounds, entrances to magical underground kingdoms where time flowed differently. These myths turned ordinary hills into enchanted portals. Indian traditions. Ancient texts described Patalas, vast subterranean realms inhabited by serpent kings, treasures, and mystical beings. These stories gave underground spaces a sense of grandeur and danger. Mystery, darkness, represented the unknown, a place where secrets could dwell. Transformation, descending underground, often symbolized a journey of change, from life to death, ignorance to wisdom. Power. Hidden realms were seen as places of immense strength, where gods or spirits ruled unseen. These mythological stories remind us that underground spaces were never just practical. They were woven into the fabric of imagination, turning stone corridors into sacred pathways and caves into cosmic gateways. The rhythm of myth is slow and timeless, echoing across cultures, whispering that beneath the earth lies more than soil, it lies story. And so, as we drift deeper into this history, we carry with us not only the evidence of builders, but the dreams of civilizations who believed the underground was more than a place, it was a realm. Discovering tunnels and chambers is fascinating, but what truly brings these underground worlds to life are the traces of everyday existence left behind. Archaeologists have uncovered signs that people didn't just build beneath the earth, they lived there, worked there, and carried out the rhythms of daily life in shadowed spaces. Pottery fragments, broken bowls and jars show that meals were prepared and shared underground. Cooking hearths, charred remains of fires, reveal kitchens carved into stone, where food was cooked in the dim glow of flames. Storage bins, grain and wine were stored in carved niches, evidence of long-term habitation. Tools and ornaments, simple chisels, beads, and personal items remind us of the human presence in these spaces. Underground cities often contained stables with traces of animal bones and feeding troughs. Livestock provided food, milk, and companionship, even in the depths of stone corridors. Footpaths, worn smooth by countless steps. Wall carvings and symbols, sometimes decorative, sometimes practical. Burial sites tucked into hidden chambers, showing that life and death both unfolded underground. Imagining life beneath the earth is strangely calming. Picture families gathered around a fire, children playing in stone corridors, animals resting in carved stables, and voices echoing softly through tunnels. The underground was not just a place of hiding, it was a home. The evidence of life below the Earth's surface reminds us that history is not only about grand monuments or myths. It is about ordinary people living quietly in extraordinary places, leaving behind whispers of their existence in the dust and stone. By now, we've wandered through tunnels, chambers, and even entire underground cities. But the lingering question remains: why did ancient builders go to such extraordinary lengths to hide their structures beneath the earth? Archaeologists and historians have offered many theories, each adding a layer of intrigue to the mystery. Defense against invaders. Underground spaces offered safety during times of war. Hidden entrances and labyrinthine layouts made it difficult for enemies to attack. Safeguarding treasures, valuable items, sacred relics, and food supplies could be concealed away from thieves. Shelter from natural disasters. Underground chambers provided refuge from harsh weather, floods, or extreme heat. Journey to the underworld. Many cultures believed that descending underground mirrored the passage into spiritual realms. Builders may have carved these spaces to reflect cosmic beliefs. Sacred secrecy. Rituals performed in darkness carried an aura of mystery, enhancing their spiritual significance. Symbol of rebirth. Emerging from underground could represent renewal, echoing myths of death and resurrection. Climate control. Underground structures maintained steady temperatures, ideal for storage and habitation. Resource efficiency. Soft rock formations made carving easier than building above ground with scarce materials. Community planning. Concealed spaces allowed entire populations to live quietly, hidden from the chaos above. Theories about why ancient builders hid their structures remind us that history is rarely simple. Practical needs blended with spiritual beliefs, survival instincts merged with imagination. The result was a world beneath the world, a place of safety, secrecy, and symbolism. And as we drift deeper into this story, the reasons themselves feel like whispers in the dark. Protection, faith, survival, mystery. Each theory is a gentle echo, reminding us that beneath the soil lies not just stone, but intention. Conflict has always shaped human history, and it played a decisive role in why so many ancient civilizations chose to build beneath the earth. Underground structures were not simply architectural curiosities, they were shields, fortresses, and sanctuaries carved in stone. Invasion threats. Regions at crossroads of empires, like Anatolia or Mesopotamia, faced constant raids. Underground cities offered refuge when armies swept across the land. Siege survival. Hidden chambers stored food, water, and supplies, allowing communities to endure long blockades. Escape routes. Secret tunnels provided pathways to flee or launch surprise counterattacks. Labyrinthine layouts, narrow corridors, and confusing passageways slowed intruders, buying precious time. Concealed entrances. Hidden doorways blended into landscapes, making underground cities nearly invisible to enemies. Multi-layered fortifications. Some complexes had multiple levels, each designed to trap or confuse attackers. Beyond physical defense, underground spaces offered a sense of safety. Families could retreat into the earth, hearing battles rage above, while remaining cocooned in silence below. The darkness itself became a shield, wrapping communities in secrecy. War and protection explain much of the underground world. These spaces were carved not only from stone, but from fear, resilience, and hope. The rhythm of defense, prepare, hide, endure, wait, was slow and steady, echoing through generations. The role of war reminds us that underground structures were more than engineering feats. They were acts of survival, quiet fortresses beneath the soil, where history's most vulnerable moments found shelter in shadow. One of the greatest challenges of building underground was not carving stone, but breathing. Without fresh air, tunnels quickly filled with smoke from lamps, stale air, or even dangerous gases. Ancient engineers, however, developed ingenious ways to keep their subterranean worlds livable. Vertical shafts. Builders dug deep openings to the surface, allowing fresh air to flow downward, while stale air escaped upward. Angled tunnels. Sloping passageways were designed to catch breezes and channel them into deeper chambers. Multiple openings. By creating more than one entrance, engineers allowed air to circulate naturally, reducing stagnation. Sources. Oil lamps and torches produced smoke, so ventilation shafts doubled as exhaust systems. Wide corridors helped disperse fumes, while narrow shafts acted like chimneys. Strategic placement. Fires and kitchens were often located near ventilation points to minimize smoke buildup. Sources. Egypt. Miners and temple builders used passive shafts to keep air moving in deep tunnels. Greece. Quarry workers relied on angled corridors that funneled breezes into the underground. China. Early mines employed carefully aligned shafts to harness natural airflow, ensuring safer working conditions. Sources. The rhythm of ancient ventilation was quiet and steady. Air drifted through shafts, smoke curled upward, and cool breezes whispered along stone corridors. These systems were simple, but they kept underground spaces habitable, turning dark chambers into places where life could continue. Ventilation reminds us that ancient builders weren't only carving stone, they were shaping air itself. Their patience and ingenuity transformed suffocating tunnels into breathable worlds, proving that survival underground depended as much on invisible currents as on solid walls. Not every subterranean project reached completion across the world. Archaeologists have uncovered vast underground works that were abandoned mid-construction, silent reminders of ambition halted by circumstance. These unfinished megastructures reveal both the scale of ancient engineering dreams and the limits imposed by nature, politics, or time. Egyptian tomb complexes. Some shafts and chambers beneath pyramids and temples end abruptly, as if workers stopped mid-chisel. Cappadocia's deeper levels. Certain underground cities show tunnels that begin but never connect, hinting at plans for expansion that were abandoned. Mediterranean quarries, vast subterranean halls, were left incomplete, their rough walls showing the marks of tools that never returned. Asian cave temples. Some complexes reveal half-carved sanctuaries, suggesting that rulers or patrons died before projects could be finished. Political upheaval, wars, invasions, or the fall of dynasties often halted construction. Resource limits, exhaustion of manpower, tools, or funding made projects unsustainable. Natural obstacles, flooding, unstable rock, or lack of ventilation forced abandonment. Changing priorities, new rulers or cultures sometimes shifted focus to other monuments, leaving underground works forgotten. Ambition. The sheer scale of unfinished corridors shows how bold ancient plans could be. Human limits. Even the most determined builders faced challenges they could not overcome. Archaeological insight. Rough, incomplete walls preserve tool marks and construction techniques more clearly than finished spaces. Unfinished underground megastructures feel like frozen echoes of effort. Imagine workers pausing mid-strike, lamps flickering, plans half-realized. The silence that followed became permanent, leaving corridors that lead nowhere and chambers that never served their purpose. These abandoned works remind us that history is not only about triumphs, it is also about pauses, failures, and forgotten ambitions. The quiet places where human dreams sank back into stone. As explorers and archaeologists ventured into ancient underground spaces, they often discovered something even more mysterious than tunnels and chambers. Symbols carved into the stone itself. These markings, etched deep in the earth, remain some of the most puzzling remnants of subterranean civilizations. Geometric patterns, circles, spirals, and intersecting lines carved into walls, sometimes repeated across chambers. Animal figures, stylized depictions of birds, snakes, or bulls, hinting at ritual or mythological significance. Abstract marks, simple scratches or coded sequences that may have served as guides or identifiers. Sacred motifs, crosses, stars, or sun-like shapes, often linked to religious or spiritual practices. Ritual use. Symbols may have been part of ceremonies, carved to invoke protection or divine presence. Communication. Some markings could have been practical, guiding inhabitants through labyrinthine tunnels. Identity. Carvings might represent clans, families, or groups who claimed certain chambers. Mystery. Others remain undeciphered, their meaning lost to time, leaving only speculation. Tool marks around carvings show they were deliberate, not accidental scratches. Placement often suggests importance near entrances, altars, or central halls. Some symbols resemble those found above ground, linking subterranean life to broader cultural traditions. There is something haunting yet calming about these symbols. Imagine torchlight flickering across carved spirals, shadows dancing over animal figures, and silence wrapping around marks whose meaning has faded. The underground becomes not just a place of stone, but of story, whispers etched into walls by hands long gone. Strange symbols carved deep in the earth remind us that history is not only about what we can explain, it is also about mysteries left unsolved, quiet puzzles waiting in shadow, inviting us to wonder. The mysteries of underground worlds are no longer left only to chance discoveries or dusty excavations. In recent decades, modern technology has given archaeologists new eyes beneath the earth, revealing hidden chambers, tunnels, and megastructures without lifting a single stone. Ground-penetrating radar (GPR) sends radio waves into the soil, bouncing back signals that reveal voids, walls, and buried structures. Magnetometry detects subtle changes in the Earth's magnetic field caused by human-made features like walls or hearths. Electrical resistivity scanning measures how easily electricity flows through the ground, highlighting underground chambers and water systems. 3D laser scanning LiDAR maps subterranean spaces in extraordinary detail, creating digital reconstructions of tunnels and chambers. Hidden chambers beneath pyramids. Scans have revealed anomalies, suggesting rooms yet to be explored. Cappadocia's deeper levels. Modern imaging shows that underground cities may extend further than previously thought. Buried temples and tombs. Non-invasive scans have uncovered forgotten sanctuaries without disturbing the soil above. Lost aqueducts and water systems. Technology has traced ancient channels still hidden beneath landscapes. Preservation. Non-invasive scans protect fragile sites from damage. Accuracy. Digital maps allow archaeologists to plan excavations with precision. Accessibility. Virtual reconstructions let researchers and the public explore underground worlds without entering dangerous spaces. There is something soothing about these scans. Waves of energy drift silently into the earth, returning whispers of hidden chambers. Computers translate those whispers into glowing images, revealing secrets that have slept for centuries. The rhythm of discovery is gentle, patient, and almost dreamlike. Modern technology reminds us that exploration is no longer only about digging. It is about listening to the earth with new instruments, uncovering its hidden stories with quiet precision. The underground world, once silent and sealed, now hums softly with signals of revelation. The idea that entire civilizations might have lived beneath the earth sounds like legend, yet archaeological discoveries hint at something close to it. Vast subterranean cities, stretching for miles, raise the question, were these spaces temporary refuges, or could they have sustained whole societies for generations? Cappadocia, Turkey. Cities like Derinkuyu and Kamakli could house tens of thousands of people, complete with stables, kitchens, schools, and churches. Roman catacombs, though primarily burial sites, they also sheltered communities during times of persecution. Qanat systems in Persia, while designed for water, their tunnels sometimes doubled as living and storage spaces. China's Yaodong dwellings, semi-subterranean homes carved into low-est cliffs, show that underground living was not rare. Food and water, underground wells and storage chambers suggest long-term survival was possible. Ventilation, ingenious shafts kept air circulating, making extended habitation feasible. Defense, hidden entrances and labyrinthine layouts offered protection from invaders, encouraging communities to remain underground for extended periods. Limitations, lack of sunlight, agricultural challenges, and psychological strain likely meant these spaces were refuges or seasonal homes, not permanent civilizations. Most evidence suggests underground worlds were extensions of surface life rather than complete replacements. People lived above ground when safe, retreating below during war, famine, or ritual. The underground was a second world, parallel, protective, and symbolic. Imagining entire civilizations underground is strangely calming. Picture corridors, alive with footsteps, kitchens glowing with firelight, animals resting in carved stables, and voices echoing softly through stone halls. Life beneath the earth was slower, quieter, and shielded from chaos above. The possibility of underground civilizations reminds us that human resilience is boundless. Whether temporary refuge or imagined permanence, these hidden worlds show how far people would go to survive and how deeply they carved their dreams into the earth. We have wandered together through hidden corridors, vast underground cities, unfinished megastructures, and mysterious symbols carved deep in stone. Each chapter has been a quiet step into the shadowed past, where human hands shaped worlds beneath the earth. Underground spaces were more than shelters. They were homes, sanctuaries, and places of worship. Builders worked patiently in darkness, guided by simple tools and ingenious ventilation. Myths and rituals gave these spaces meaning, turning stone into story. Modern technology now listens to the earth, uncovering secrets that have slept for centuries. The underground world is not only about mystery, it is about patience. Every chisel strike, every carved corridor, every hidden chamber reflects a slower rhythm of life. These spaces remind us that history is not always loud or grand. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and deeply human. And now, as we close this journey, let the underground fade into silence. Imagine the cool air drifting through stone corridors, the faint echo of footsteps long gone, and the hush of chambers that still breathe with mystery. The story rests now, like the earth itself, calm, timeless, and waiting. Good night.